All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just tuning in, you are going to get pre-roll ads thanks to Ustream. The fine folks at Ustream are hosts here this evening for an impromptu test session of PowerShift live with me, BangShift Chad, and my wonderful partner in crime, Big Bad Brian Loans, who you will see, right about now. There he is. He's that guy. Right there.
Hola noches, everyone. Hola noches.
I think he just called me nacho cheese, but that's not cho cheese.
It's all good. We're live, and it has not turned into a train wreck yet, and that is better than we did last week. So we're winning right now.
Oh my God, yes. All of you folks that were with us last week, we apologize for the technical difficulties that we had. We had a serious internet meltdown, which really sucks when you own a website and you can't get the goddamn internet to work. That sucks. But we got ourselves fixed up, and I think we're good to go. We have some much needed new equipment from the internet service provider, and we're working on stuff like that. But we're rambling because we're waiting for all of you to get through pre-roll ads. Are there folks in the chat window there, Mr. Brian?
There is a couple guys poking around in there. We're glad to have them.
Excellent, excellent. Brian will be monitoring the chat, so when you guys have questions or comments, please make sure that you step up and type right there. If you're watching us on Ustream and you're wondering where the hell is it that we're supposed to chat, I apologize, but that is only here at bangshift.com, so tune in at bangshift.com. You can do that. We also have a lot of other stuff for you guys to check out that you're going to love. Lots of great content, cool photos, videos, all kinds of stuff. Anything and everything to do with racing, hot rods, etc. But if you're tuning in expecting to see Dave Despain's wind tunnel, as I say each and every time we are live, you are barking up the wrong tree, my friends. That's just not going to happen. Unfortunately, you have to look at me, and Brian. Oh, Brian, over there. That guy, right there. Yes.
All of this. Yes,
all of that. The world's largest noggin. What you don't know is that the shirt that's hanging on the wall behind him is actually a 6X. That's how big his head is.
That's inventory there. We have to keep that thing clean. We're going to sell that shirt.
There you go. Exactly. We got a couple of things we want to cover today on PowerShift, where Brian and I talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about, quite frankly, that's going on here in the automotive world or here on bangshift.com. Everything from racing stuff to crazy, stupid cars, etc. Brian already drinking beer, testing out his sobriety checkpoint finger. The good news is, with the high life, he doesn't have to worry about leaving the house, so, it's good. Oh, and Carrie, his wife, wanted him to do the show today sitting in front of the family Christmas tree. But he determined that once he started laughing and having fun, the basement was a safer place before she screamed and yelled at him. I, of course, am the one that did the screaming and yelling when I told the kids if they don't shut up, I will hang them. So we have that down here in the Reynolds household. This week, again, it was supposed to be last Thursday, had issues, but this week we're going to cover a couple of different topics. We're going to talk about the shakedown at Englishtown, which we started talking about last week, and that's when everything went south. Also going to talk about a couple of cool picks that we've had for cool blog items from last week here on bangshift.com. We're going to talk about power adders, ladies and gentlemen, turbos and blowers and nitrous oh my. The trio, the trinity, if you will, the finest combination of greatness ever. You should use all three. I'm saying that just right now. I'm prefacing. We're also going to talk about the ProMod rules announcement, which Brian is going to go over here in a little while, and then we're going to talk about some wacky stuff that's on TV and that was here on the site. So, without further ado, I want to make sure I thank our great sponsors here at bangshift.com, all of them, but especially our live broadcast sponsors, including Aeromotive and Comp Cams, the fine folks at Lucas Oil, Holly, and Chris Alston's Chassis Works as well. Without them, we wouldn't be live at all the races all across the country. So, very, very cool deal. Please go like them on Facebook and everything. In fact, Comp Cams is like right at 99,000 or something like that likes on Facebook. So, we want to make a big push. We need 100,000 for Comp Cams, and then, of course, 100,000 for us as well. But we're getting dangerously close. Ooh, yes, see, Brian has car parts. I do too, but mine are all piled up in my office around everything. So the shakedown at Englishtown, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, one of the most just epic races of all times, no longer at E-Town. It is now the shakedown at the Summit, or at Summit. Summit Motorsports Park. God, what a neat facility. You've been there a bunch of times, Brian, and I have too. I mean, do you know any place that's really cooler than Norwalk in the country?
You know, I really don't, and it's a lot of, Z-Max gets a lot of credit for being like the best drag strip in the country, but I think the only people that say that are people that haven't been to Norwalk before, because the setting at Norwalk is better. It is a way more personable place. It's a racetrack that seats 30,000 people, and it still feels like the neighborhood drag strip.
Oh yeah, it is. It's insane, and you can't forget $1 a pound ice cream. I mean, that's the thing I always stick with, and you know it. But the truth is, the food's awesome, the facility is bitchin', and not just for all the race fans. That's one of the things that is kind of funny, and you guys don't care because you're race fans, but for us, the media guys that are standing next to the wall shooting video or shooting photos or whatever, this place rules. It's concrete next to the guardrails. It's clean. It's got a great audio system, and we are working on being live from the shakedown. So cross your fingers and send them cards and letters and tell them you want Chad live from the shakedown. But I'm really excited about it. Kurt Johnson and those guys, second to none as far as running a track. I feel really fortunate. In fact, Brian can attest to this. Kurt and those guys are awesome. We've had really, really good luck in the last few years dealing with great track promoters. I mean, the Bowser family in Famoso, Todd and Keith at Tulsa Raceway Park, now Osage Casino Raceway Park. They are just great people, and it's so much more pleasant to go to a place that has great people, and like PBIR too. We're going to Palm Beach International here in a few weeks for our live broadcast at the Pro Winter Warm-Up, and you guys are going to want to watch that because it's your first shot at watching big show cars run out there on the drag strip instead of seeing them in a car show all winter. So really going to be a big deal for that one as well. But again, major kudos to Kurt and the gang for getting the shakedown. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, they're going to do a great job with the race, and like you said, Chad, we've been lucky enough to kind of talk to Kurt a little bit about hopefully getting involved and doing some stuff, and hopefully we'll have some news on that coming. But it's an exciting development for the race because David Hans did an amazing job with it for the time he had it, 10 years or whatever now, and for them to now be taking it at Norwalk, and the cliche thing to move it to the next level, but I mean, they're thinking about how they're going to develop this thing over the next 5-10 years, so the Bader family doesn't do anything halfway. Everybody knows that, and the next generation of the shakedown is going to be a hell of a show.
It is, and we can't go into detail about some of the other things that are going to go on there that we're working on, but suffice it to say that we are trying to add a little bit of bang shift to the event other than just the live stuff. So please, you guys gotta stay tuned on this. I'm telling you, it's going to be badass. Now's the time when I would usually get into either Brian's pick of the week for the coolest blog item from last week or mine. And I don't know, do you have one still, Brian, from last week? Oh, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt your beer drinking.
Oh, that's fine. I had to clear my throat there. Well, I don't know if I have a coolest one, but I definitely have one that it sucks, but I think it was the most kind of important one that we were in last week, which is the item about Island Dragway in New Jersey, which is going to be closed, and we were pretty close to the first people to confirm that that's what's going on, but at this point the track is closed. At this point the track is not going to reopen. Hopefully that some kind of miracle can happen where the thing's going to find its way open again, but it looks pretty bad right now. Historic racetrack. It was a place that Garlitz made the first documented 200-mile-an-hour run in 1964. I believe that Karen Macinas did it at Alton, Illinois in 1960, but as far as NHRA racing goes, the documentation says the first 200-mile-an-hour run was made there in 64. So it was a neighborhood racetrack. It was a small place. It wasn't any kind of major league facility, but it sucks to lose another drag strip, and New Jersey's down to 2 of them now, and, Englishtown, every year we hear about how Englishtown's under threat from their neighbors, so.
Well, and it's a good one to pick. I was going to bring that up later, but I'll tell you, there were some people online, thank God none of them on PowerShift, because I would have just kicked them out. It's the beauty of it being our house, is that we can ask you to leave, and by ask you to leave, I mean, click, bye-bye.
It's a quick process.
It is. It requires exactly this many votes. And then either of us can go, click. But, there were some people online that were like, oh, that place is a piece of shit, and blah, 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 blah. You know what? Dude, George Ray's drag strip, the Wildcat place, is, dude, I couldn't live with my wife if my sidewalk looked that bad, right? She would kill me and require me to pour concrete in the snow. It would not matter, okay? But, there's a million people that are going there racing every year, and it's famous, and it's all these things. Island Dragway may not be the nicest drag strip in the country or any of that stuff. Who cares? It's a drag strip. And you know what? Right. For the people that bitch and moan about it, I say step up. If I lived in a town where we had, because we don't have a drag strip. The closest one we have now is Famoso or Irwindale, if you want to go 8th Mile. And it's just a fun track. Well, it doesn't need any improvements unless they get rid of the circle track so we can make it a 1/4 mile long. But it doesn't need any improvement. But if there was a drag strip down the street from my house, and the only way I could go and race on this thing was to get a group of buddies together and go down there and pull weeds and clean stuff up and bring out some asphalt patch and start working and volunteer, then I'd be doing it. So for all the people that bitched and moaned and said that it's, wasn't a great track and all these kinds of things, suck it, dude. Who cares? You need to be lucky, because those are the same people that are going to bitch and moan, the next time they can't go racing. Or when it's their kid or their wife or their brother-in-law or whatever that gets hit by some idiot that's out street racing,
Yeah, and I have no qualm with a racer who wants to step up and say, oh, this track is poorly run, or this isn't a great place, or whatever, because that's really what happened at Capital Dragway, which ultimately reopened under new ownership and stuff, but that place was just getting killed left and right by people because they said it sucked. The thing that was disturbing to me was the guys that were openly cheering the fact that this place is closed up, and it's like, if Englishtown is open in 10 years from now, it'll be a miracle. It really will. The amount of stuff they have to go through every single year with all those neighbors, it's at some point it's going to choke them out, whether it's 5 years from now, but I bet if that place has got 10 years left in it, I'd be shocked. And then you've got Echo as the only place left to race in New Jersey.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And like you said, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but God, don't go yay, 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 it's closed. What a crappy deal that is, So,
oh yeah,
not cool at all for people. Not even a little bit. And the only thing we can hope is that, somebody comes along and saves the place, but we're really just going to have to see.
Yeah, exactly. It's in the hands of the local government right now, and usually when that happens, nothing good comes of it. So we'll have to keep an eye out and see what happens. But as of right now, NHRA has pulled Island Dragway off their member track list, and for all intents and purposes, the place is dead.
Yeah, and that's just too bad. I got to tell you, I'm saddened by that, but. At this point, it is what it is, and we'll just have to see what happens from here on out.
That's it. Stay tuned. We'll be as quick as we can be with any news as we hear it or gather it. So.
Right. Absolutely. I wanted to also talk about the ProMod rules announcement. I know that you wrote the blog item on that one. I know that there's some interesting changes, and as you know, Brian, or all of you folks out there should know, Brian and I happen to be very, very close to a few very prominent top 10 NHRA ProMod teams. And we work with those guys. Some of them are sponsors of ours. They're friends of ours, all of those things. So we happen to have a little bit more vested interest in some of the Pro Mod rules than probably anybody else in the media, honestly. The rest of the guys are just going to use it as some talking point or what have you, and certainly we are now. But we also have a little bit of vested interest as to which things we think are good. So rifle off a few of the big changes.
Well, I think one of the most notable things is that nothing was changed on the blower cars, and I think if we look at Pro Mod history and we look at what was traditionally the nitrous versus blower thing, there hasn't been many years since 1990 when the class was first kind of incorporated that an adjustment wasn't made. And granted, at the early days of the class, it was nitrous cars dominated the whole thing, but when the supercharged cars kind of got their legs under them, it's been very rare that the supercharged cars haven't gotten some weight hung on them or some overdrive taken away or some overdrive added, or nothing happened with the blower cars. What the most interesting thing happened, in my opinion, on the turbocharger front is they no longer have to run the spec precision turbo. They can run whatever turbo they want. They're limited to the 88 millimeter size, but the other thing that's kind of weird is that NHRA said they have to run a specific boost controller, which is fine. They mandate what part they have to run. But then in the rule, it's written that the NHRA is going to tell them how much boost they can run.
Yes.
And what's interesting to me about that is it's on its face, it's like, okay, well, it's like telling the supercharger guys you can only run them 14 over, 28 over, whatever the rule is. But they don't say that it's going to be race to race, week to week. It's going to be a set number from the beginning of the season to the end. So who knows how often they're going to mess with that. But really, these guys could be showing up to a race and they hand them a sheet of paper that says, oh, you can run 40 pounds of boost this weekend. Oh, you can run 30. It's going to be weird.
I agree wholeheartedly on that one, because while I was in Vegas before the SEMA show, I was at the NHRA national event. I was working with the team from Aeromotive and Steve Matuzik and all of those gangs, proud sponsors of bangshift.com and our live programming. Shameless sponsor plug. But anyway, we're there with Matuzik and the gang, and NHRA had several meetings with the Pro Mod competitors, which they've had throughout the year, but they had a few wrap-up meetings because the Pro Mod series ends in Vegas, and so we had the banquet there in Las Vegas and all of those things, so they needed to get all the input from racers as early as possible. They went around the pits and asked all of the racers how much boost they were running, all of the turbo cars. How much boost are you running? So they are going to come up with some magic boost number. Now, the interesting thing about that, this is where things get really interesting, is the boost controller, not a big deal. As long as everybody's on an even field and they can, all learn how to use it, totally good with that. I know a lot of guys aren't, but I'm okay with that. The bigger deal is that there are teams out there that are running 50 and 60 pounds of boost, and there are teams out there that are running 40 and 45 pounds of boost. The guys that are having to run 50 or 60 in order to run their number, because of whatever happens to be their particular engine combo, those guys are going to be more adversely affected by the change in boost number. A guy that's already running the number with only 40 or 45 pounds of boost, he doesn't care. Because if he's one of the low guys, he knows that, NHRA is going to pick somewhere in the middle between the high guys and the low guys as the max. So anybody that's under that is going to be good to go. And one of the things that will do, I'm afraid anyway, I'm afraid that it'll get rid of some of the diversity in the class, and I know that sounds funny when we're only talking about the turbocharged cars, but the truth of the matter is the turbocharged cars, there are a variety of combinations running turbos as far as engine combos. So
absolutely. You get some guys are running Hemis, some guys are running, we got Matuzik running the Ford engine, and you got a lot of guys running a big block Chevy style motor. So yeah, you're right. There's a cool mechanical diversity that's going to fly out the window when this thing gets settled.
It very well could, and I have to be honest with you. I don't know what the 451X 481X block and head combo, what kind of boost numbers those guys are running. I just don't know. But my fear would be, or we'll use Matuzik for example. He has the 500-inch, pro stock Ford motor, from Roush Yates that's got this, insane set of turbos on it and all that. Well, if his combo needed to have 60 pounds of boost in order to run the number, but a Hemi only needed to have 40 pounds of boost in order to run the number, and NHRA says you can't have 60, you can only have 50, then I'm afraid people will start swapping over to the other things. And that's where I think that will suck, because the truth is that right now there is a little bit of brand going on. ProMod probably for the first time in a long time has some Ford versus Chevy versus Chrysler really going on, and that's going to change, I'm afraid.
Yeah, there is some legitimacy to that, and the fact that, like I said, you got guys running a wedge style, a Chevrolet quote unquote style wedge engine versus Matusik with the Ford Pro stock style engine, and a couple other guys running Ford stuff, Bohovitz and those guys running that kind of stuff. But then you got also guys running a Hemi on alcohol with a couple of turbos as well. So that's the crappy thing, is, like, again, you said, none of those three engines are working on the same plane as far as how their boost situation is. So
no,
it's like anything else. It's like you got in the fuel ranks, everybody runs it, and sooner or later there's a combination that, due to the rules, becomes the superior one, and then you either run that combination or you just pack it up and go home.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to me because, as the engine guy, I'm the guy that wants to know, are you getting the same volume of airflow through a Hemi, let's say, a big Hemi, with 30 pounds of boost, as you would be in a, traditional wedge motor, small block Chevrolet, or big block Chevrolet, sorry, at 60 pounds of boost? Is the cylinder head design dramatically affect boost numbers? We have gotten to the point where we use boost as this magic measure, okay? And it's a legitimate one to use, but the truth is, the boost number doesn't necessarily tell you what the airflow is. And so, there's a lot of these combos that really flow a ton of air and make stupid power, but they don't have to run that much boost to do it. So how is that,
The one thing that kind of remains a bit of a wild card is, to reference a different class entirely, but when IHRA ran alcohol funny cars, Rob Atchison ran that 41X style wedge engine against everybody else in the class, ran a Hemi, and he actually won either 1 or 2 or 3 championships. He became very dominant with that thing. So that combination can make just as much power flat out, and that was with a blower on top of it and everything else. So in theory, he was running as much boost as anybody else was, but does that hold true in a Pro Mod? Does that hold true with turbos? I couldn't say, but
I know.
On a playing field where everybody had the same supercharger, then that thing was capable of hanging with everybody else.
Well, that gives me the perfect segue to be able to rub it in the fact that as soon as we're done here with the live broadcast, I'm actually going to the dyno shop tonight. So
night session.
Yes, I'm working on a couple of engines so that we can start doing some testing on them, and have a guy that wants to borrow some parts from one of our engines. So we're going to go down there and tear it apart and put it in there and do some testing tomorrow. But it's an interesting question as to, what is cylinder head flow, how does that affect boost numbers and total airflow and power and all of those things. And I think that's something that gets really tricked to test, but I'd really like to. I think it would be fun, and I think we've got a couple of LS engine combos that are coming up that maybe will lend themselves to doing that, so we'll just have to see. But anyway, big stuff in Pro Mod. It really could be the most exciting year yet, and I'm excited about it. Big tires, real doors, hauling ass. How can you argue with that,
Yeah, I'm interested to see too. Obviously, Steve Petty, the tuner for Coughlin, did a great job this year, and he, in my mind, would be the guy that's going to adapt the quickest to these rules. So I think part of the story as the season gets started is to see how quickly they come out of the gate as a leading contender again.
Yeah, I think that that's entirely possible, and I also think that, because obviously great guy, But I also think there will be a little less drama with turbos than you actually think, because, not you specifically, Brian, but the public in general, because, quite frankly, despite the fact that they've had to run exactly one size of turbo, dude, all the insides, everybody was doing one-off stuff. It's crazy, so who knows what that's going to do. But with guys like Borg Warner coming out with really trick new stuff, which we are, I actually was talking to them today about turbo for a motor we're testing, and the guys, that all of them, Turbonetics and all of these guys, they're all doing stuff, and Comp Turbo and everybody, they're all trying to step up, so we'll see what happens. I wanted to cover a funny thing. How many of you guys that are out there watching right now saw last week when we ran the story on the wrong 1977 Trans Am convertible that was built on the Car Wars TV show?
That thing was heinous.
Oh my God. Our resident Pontiac freak, okay, which most Pontiac guys are freaks. Our resident Pontiac freak is Scott Payton, and he isn't watching tonight because he's actually at church, but he's one of our web geeks and here at Bang Shift, and Scott is awesome people, and he's a Pontiac guy, and he always looks at Pontiacs for sale every single morning on eBay and Craigslist. And so when he found that one, he forwarded it to me and said, "Blog item, my friend." And this thing is hideous. It's white convertible with a white interior. It doesn't sit great. It's gaudy in every way, and that's mostly because of the real flames that are all over this thing.
The blue, you forget to add the fact that the real flames are effing blue.
Yes, they are, and hideous. I mean, despicable. They even did the fire chicken on the hood with all these real flames coming off of it and everything. Just horrific deal. We're using new equipment tonight, or I'd show you a picture of this thing, but oh my God, it's horrible. The only
problem with the real flames is that they weren't in fact real flames, and the vehicle was not on fire.
Oh, and that's where I'm going. Okay, here's a great deal. I'm going to read some of the comments, okay, that were made on this thing. Okay, Ken wrote, "It is ugly, but it shows a lot of hard work. Just poor taste. At least it's not a rat rod. I hate those things." Well, Ken, you're right on all of that stuff except the rat rod part, because I kind of like rat rods, as long as they're not the one that's got like a dead chicken hanging on it. That's all bullshit. I don't like that. But otherwise, it's good. Then Beagle wrote, "Oh, the flames. Fail. The cut line effed up the car's lines, does not follow the body line. If you can't do it right, please don't do it at all. The car would need pretty severe surgery to be done right, not something that will get done in 72 minutes. Oh, and then Toad writes, "Nothing that comes from these horrid car shows surprises me." He says, "I take that back. One thing that would surprise me would be if they built something that looked good and was relevant." And I thought that was pretty on point. And then Joe Bogey wrote, "Real flames is just what that car needs. No, really. Get a gallon of gas, a match, and light that mess up."
Oh, that's a winner. That's a winner right there. That is good.
Oh, Joe, you're the dude, man. And I'll tell you that this is all leading into our next topic, which pisses me off about. But all of these car shows, we got nothing worth a damn. And these guys make all these things. And the bad part about it to me is that, God bless the guy whose car it is. If that's what he wanted done, again, I don't have to like it, and I'm sorry that I'm going to make fun of it on some occasion, and I know that there are a lot of people out there that think my junk is crap, and I don't care. That's okay. The only thing that matters to me is that guy's as excited about his car as I am about my Camaro. So if that's the case, good for him.
Here's the rub on the rub on that show, though, is there's no, owner guy. It's not like a feel-good story show. It's like a team of quote unquote professional builders, and then there's a team of, not regular guys, but just dudes and they build the same car side by side, then one wins. So if that was the winning entry, we can only surmise that the other one was worse than that somehow.
Wow, I didn't even think about it that way, but you're right. That's true. And the bad thing
was the winner.
and the bad thing about those shows is that regular people, the people that, go out and buy a Lexus and drive to work at their regular job and do all that stuff, they look at that and go, oh my God, car people are a bunch of redneck idiots. And I can't really blame them. I mean, it's like when I used to work in the corporate world, and Brian, I mean, I was in the high-tech industry wearing a coat and tie to work and all that way back in the day. And when I did, I'll never forget this woman that worked for me. She was younger than I was a college intern first with our company, and worked in another department, came over and was working in human resources, and she thought that I was the trashiest person ever for being into car stuff. And you should have seen the look on her face when we walked into a C-staff meeting one time where she was having to sit and take minutes of the meeting, the C-staff being CEO, CFO, etc., of a, Fortune 100 company. So big boy dudes. And the CTO of the company walks up to me and says, hey dude, that show this weekend was awesome, man. I love your Camaro, blah, 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 blah. And I said, yeah, I didn't even know you had the 33. I knew you had a 56 and blah, blah, blah. We go on talking and shooting the shit before the meeting starts. And she's just sitting there and her jaw is on the floor. And after the meeting, she says, were you guys talking about cars? I said, yeah. She says, he's into cars? I said, I've told you this a million times. This isn't a cheap hobby to be in. And she just couldn't believe it at that point that the guy that drove a, $150,000 or $200,000 Porsche to work every day, had a bunch of hot rods at home, and the reason he drove a Porsche every day was because it was the easy, comfy commuter car, not because anybody gave a crap about it,
Right.
So it's kind of funny.
No, it is. I mean, it's like, the shows don't do anything to help people's perception, and they don't do anything to help just even regular guys or guys like you and me are doing this stuff, because it's like it puts, for me, I got the Buford car that we've been working on, doing a bunch of stuff too, and I think I've been trying to keep a pretty decent pace of all the work we've been doing. But it's like you go a couple weeks without doing something, it's like, oh crap, But it's like Rome wasn't built a day, and the freaking guys that are building the car in 7 days, we've all heard the post-production horror stories about, the doors falling off or whatnot, or chunks of body filler coming out of the thing. So it is what it is, and as you know, I mean, hell, you made a reality TV show. You know what kind of a disaster that whole thing can be from the inside out. So,
oh yeah,
we don't even need to go down that road.
Well, no, and and I was part of the 48-hour Camaro where we did build a car in 48 hours, from nothing. And I mean, I shouldn't say from nothing, from a nice plain stock car, but there's a ton that goes into it. And I'm sure that those dudes worked really hard on that ugly Trans Am, but wow, they failed miserably. I would have been much happier if they took a Sawzall and a plasma cutter to the entire inside of that thing and threw a tire under it as wide as your head. Because as far as I'm concerned, Pro Street is not dead. There's more to follow on bangshift.com. Well, that gets me into Chopper Live. Did you watch Chopper Live last week, Brian?
I can sit here proudly and say I did not watch 1 minute of that.
Well, it's interesting. I couldn't keep myself away from it, and I felt bad for wanting to watch. But I did talk to some very prominent motorcycle and car builders on Sunday, actually, at a birthday party for Rockin' Rob McGregor, who owns No Limit Engineering, just turned 50. And after saying, hey there, Grandpa, we started talking about Chopper Live. And for those of you not in the know, you need to look it up. They are rerunning it on Discovery. It was a build-off competition between Jesse James, Paul Tuttle Jr. from American Choppers, Paul Tuttle Sr. from American Choppers, and the two complete jack-offs from Gas Monkey Garage from Fast and Loud. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that not politically correct? Okay, the two idiot. Oh, no, wait. Damn it. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Screw that. The two idiots from Gas Monkey Garage. Which, by the way, look them up. The fact that they're on TV boggles my mind, because these guys have been involved in more crooked crap and, like, horribly embarrassing for the industry stuff than you can imagine, and the least of which is photos of them on the internet wearing G-strings. That's the least offensive thing they've done. Oh yeah, it's horrible. But anyway, I digress. The quick version of this is Junior decides to build a hot rod themed motorcycle, and he does one that's very Junior-esque, and it's beautifully done and all those things. Whether it's your taste or not is a whole nother deal, but very cool stuff. Used a 7 Chevrolet grill on it and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, they're running the show, and Junior builds this bike. Senior decides to build a crotch rocket, a crazy little rice burner bike that was, really insane. Every single part of this bike, including the sides of the gas tank, were machined from billet aluminum on a CNC machine. Whoa. It was truly unbelievable from an engineering and machining standpoint. Really, really cool. And then the Fast and Loud jerk-offs, they built a bike they named Fred because it was already named when they got it. And it was like a 67 shovelhead Harley that they made into a rigid and put a little bitty tire on it and this cool fender and all these things. Honestly, their bike was the one that I would want to own the most. And it was pink, but still. The only thing wrong with their bike, in my opinion, was it wasn't nearly as custom as some of the others, which is why I liked it, but it had a little bit of mixed identity. It was like when you saw a car in the 80s that was like a restored car but had some billet aluminum random crap on it. I was guilty of that. I did it. It's like, why did my street race car have billet aluminum pulleys on them? I don't know, but as soon as I realized the error of my ways, I spray painted them black, and they were all good to go. But it had some billet tchotchke things on it that just didn't go with the rest of the style of the bike. But it was bitchin'. It was foot clutch, suicide shift, no front brake. The handlebars looked just like bicycle handlebars with a twist throttle. Cool little bike.
That's cool, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and they rode it from Texas. Jesse James had a crotch rocket bike also. Of course, every bit of his hand-forged from iron ore, because it's Jesse and that's what he does. Whether or not Jesse James is a douchebag because he cheated on his wife and did all of those things, throw that out the window. Does it make him a good human being or a bad human being or any of that? I know the answer is he sucks as a human being. But strictly as a motorcycle builder, all three of those other guys don't have the combined skill of Jesse James. It's just the truth. Jesse is the single most talented fabricator of all of the four teams. No question. He also happens to be the smartest. Because as a guy that did the TV thing and knows the fake television stuff, the TV crew made up a deadline for these guys to have to build their bikes in 6 weeks. Okay? But it was actually 8 weeks after the deadline that they were going to Las Vegas to debut the bikes live and have the public vote on them. So, while interesting, the truth is the only deadline that mattered was, is my bike ready when it gets to Vegas? Everybody
be on TV.
Right. Everybody else bought into the fake TV deadline. And Jesse went, I ain't doing this for no fake bullshit TV deadline. I don't care. I'll have my bike ready when it gets there. Well, it caused huge controversy. They had the option to vote him off the island and all this crap. It was nuts. And again, Junior won second year in a row. Gas Monkey Buffoons finished second. It was it was awesome because we know live And one of the cool things was when the Discovery Channel cameras had to quickly pan away. I mean, there was so much bleeping. It wasn't bleeping. They just went silent every time somebody swore because they had like the 7-second delay. But the best one was when Jesse comes out on the stage and yells at some dude and flips him off. And they, of course, got that on camera. And then were trying to turn away. And, oh, yeah, it was like, oh, the children, you know. But there were no wardrobe malfunctions. No wardrobe malfunctions. So I think the FCC or FAA or FDIC or whatever is all good.
the FDIC. Our bank deposits are still insured, thank God.
Yes, exactly. Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely horrific. But, you know, all of these things, it, you know, goes right along with what you were talking. Now, we've bashed on TV shows. To me, the best show on TV, car guy wise, and I would love to be his co-host, is Ian on Extreme 4x4. That dude's the dude.
He's the dude, and also I would argue that the English show there's an English show called Wheeler Dealers that they show on the Velocity channel.
I've watched that.
I love it, and there's no drama. It's not a show about like, oh my God, it just literally shows a guy buying a car and another guy fixing the car, and it's like I could watch that stuff for 30 hours straight because there's no crap involved. And a lot of the stuff is weird little British car. A lot of the stuff is these tiny British cars, and the guy's like, I'm going to replace the brakes, and he puts his whole hand over the brake drum or the rotor and just takes it off because it's like 4 inches across. So it's funny to see, A, these weird little foreign cars, and B, it's just a cool show because it's like, oh, this dude's replacing the exhaust on a Maserati or something. It's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, I have to say, I have watched that show, and the only drama in it, and it's so British fake, it makes me laugh, is the car owner guy. Okay, the car owner guy, when he's like, oh, I told you, you have to make the price just right, you know, and he does all that. Sorry, that was Australian. Whatever, you know, the crazy limey bastards are like, he's telling him, you know, oh, my budget is only this much. Oh, sure, your budget is only that much. Yeah, so that makes me laugh for sure. Now, but I think that Muscle Car is a pretty good show too. I think that one's pretty good. It's not. I watch that one pretty regularly, and our friends from S&W were on there doing that Duster Demon or whatever the hell it is, the Mopar Nova, as I call them when I'm announcing. It is. I mean, Chevrolet quit making them by the time Mopar made them because, you know, Mopar's always 3 or 4 years behind on the style, hence the Barracuda. You know, the famous Cudas came out, you know, and they're just a Camaro, and the Camaro was already done, see, so.
It's true.
Mopar people hate me.
And I know, you know, Stacey David's a guy that you and I both run into here and there, and I think one of the things I like about his show Gears is the fact that, you know, he's the same guy on the TV screen as he is if you're sitting next to him just talking to him. He's a very genuine guy, and, you know, he laughs. He's constantly laughing.
Oh, yeah. At himself, even.
Yeah, that's how he is, and he's a good dude, and I like watching the show. He does cool stuff.
I agree. I was going to say that as well. I think Gears is cool, and we have friends that are good friends of his and vice versa and all of that, and he's cool. And he is just a regular dude, which is neat. One of the other things that's funny is that, you know, you look at Stacy and what he does, and, you know, on occasion he does the normal stuff that we all want to see and check out and do or whatever. But he's also not afraid to go absolutely ape crap with some of the stuff.
No, you're right.
Whatever his big, the Power Wagon. What the hell's the Power Wagon's name?
Sergeant Rock or something like that.
Yes, Sergeant. Love that thing, dude. That's rad. I want that one so bad. Oh, yeah.
That was a badass truck.
Way badass truck. So, yeah, Stacy's good at that stuff for sure. You know, it's really too bad because one of my most disappointing moments was, did you see the first Drag Week episode, Brian, from this year's Drag Week that showed a couple weeks ago?
I did. I saw the first one that concentrated on the Unlimited class. I saw that. I made a little guest appearance on there. Yeah.
Yes, you did. Yes. So that was the I don't remember what the name of the episode was, but it was basic
dominance, they called it.
Oh, that's right, Dominance, because it was the show about the Unlimited class, a.k.a. the Larry Larson show, which I'm all supportive of because, Larson and I are good buddies, so I love Larson to death. I did not, however, love the show. I have to say the editing was mediocre. It was way too quick, clip to clip. I happen to know why that is, as a guy who edits stuff. The reason is because, they didn't have enough footage, so they have to slam around from stuff to stuff, and part of that's Larry's fault for driving, 85 to 90 miles an hour down the freeway, and the TV crew having trouble with a lack of Vagisil or something, so those guys can't keep up. I don't know what it is, but...
A little more inside baseball to that end is the fact that on the first couple of days, those guys would leave the track before the Unlimited cars were done running, so they actually missed some kind of key moments, and I think they, in the show, kind of edited around that fact, and I think that's why you saw a lot of choppy, clippy jumping around.
Well, that's part of it, I'm sure. My biggest pet peeve, though, the editing would have been fine. My biggest pet peeve was the fact that they made this into a Hot Rod TV episode, and the reason that's bad is because Hot Rod TV is bad. And Hot Rod TV is bad mostly because the guy that's the VO guy on that has the personality of this pencil right here. And so this actual pencil could do just as well as that guy.
What about my pen?
No, your pen is way too much personality, dude. It's got way more materials going on in there. The only thing this thing has going for it is it's lumber. It can burn itself to keep itself warm.
There you go.
But the guy that was doing the VO, they had him say stupid crap. I felt let down. I mean, I know I'm sounding harsh, and I know Brutzman and all those guys, and they're good people, and Dennis, I love Dennis to death, and he was the field producer on this thing, and Dennis is a sharp cookie and does really good work, but the VO guy, I mean, I don't care. It'll sound egotistical, but they should have called me, because the guy doing the VO didn't know anything about the event, wasn't excited about the event, couldn't have a clue about anything he was saying, and if it was somebody like me standing there doing the VO on this thing instead, it would have been a far more exciting episode. I mean, because there was tons of great action and drama that was there, they just couldn't capitalize on it with the fact that the VO guy sounded like Alan Reinhart doing it, Yeah,
I think it's tough too. Obviously, you're trying to cram a week of stuff into 30 minutes, and even, it'll be very interesting to me. I'm going to be interested to see that next episode that's going to focus on the sportsman, quote unquote sportsman guys, or whatever you want to call them, the everybody but Unlimited, just because, again, in a half-hour show, it's an impossible task. You know it as well as I do. It's almost an impossible task when you're at the event. And to Hot Rod's credit, I would say that the magazine coverage this year, the issue that just came out, was definitely the most comprehensive magazine issue they've ever done dedicated to the race. And when you look back at some of these years like 08 and 09, they would throw like 4 pages at it, and that would be it. They really did a nice job in the magazine, in my opinion. This year it was a huge spread, a lot of photos, a lot of captions. They got a lot of neat stuff in there, and I think they're coming back next month with another follow-up with other classes. So.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I think the magazine did a far better job than ever at covering it. I still think that it's disappointing that we weren't there covering it. But next time, probably not either. But that's all right, because we're going to win it one time with a car that says bang shift all over the damn side of it. I'm telling you what. It's going to be the biggest bang shift son of a bitch ever, dude.
The blimp. We'll have the bang shift blimp flying in the background.
Dude, can they stop you from covering an event from the air? What if we just get a helicopter and we broadcast live from the chopper all week?
Listen, man,
we don't have that budget.
We ran that helicopter item today. We saw how that all ended.
Dude. Oh, my God. If you guys did not see the helicopter blog item, okay, 2 things that will let you know. I guess it's technically 3 words. It's 2 of them are hyphenated, so maybe it's 2 words. I don't know. A librarian or somebody smarter than me call. But the human-powered helicopter says it all.
Yeah, and it ends just the way you'd expect anything involving a human-powered helicopter to end.
Oh, dude.
Harshly.
But the crazy thing is, human-powered helicopter makes roughly this much noise when it's flying. But when it's crashing, it makes more noise like, get out of here!
Yeah, it sounds like somebody augured a into the gym when that thing goes down from a height of what, like 4 feet? I mean, it crashed. Literally, you could have reached up and touched the bottom of it. So it was not but 6 feet in the air, but it went from 6 feet to 0 feet in like 1/10 of a second.
And it crumbled, dude, like, wow. I mean, like a piece of paper. You know, the cool part is that they probably got a grant from the government for like umpteen bajillion dollars to pay for all the hand-rolled carbon fiber they built the thing out of.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's technically cool about the video when you watch it. They show after the thing, goes down in flames, figuratively speaking. They show the carbon fiber trusses that it was made out of, and it's pretty amazing construction. And obviously, the concept is cool, and those guys are trying to win the Sikorsky Prize or whatever, the big cash payout to anybody who can build a human-powered helicopter that'll fly, was it like 10 feet in the air for a minute, and within a 30-foot box. So kind of cool, and it's, like I said in the blog item, it's like it's easy to turn on the news and see the news stories about college kids just binge drinking all the time or just being idiots.
Right.
There are some bright kids doing some cool stuff out there. So.
Oh, I agree. And what was the very first thing I said to you though about what would have been smarter in said helicopter? A Briggs and Stratton.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. Screw
the human-powered part. I don't care about that, dude. I'd have put like a 10-horse Briggs in that sucker, and we'd have got it on. That's when you need what was the Bionic Man's name?
Oh, was it Steve something?
Steve
Powers.
Steve something like that, I think, dude. Somebody in the chat window, do you know?
Steve Austin.
Steve Austin, right. The Bionic Man. Yeah. Dude, that's right. Yeah, he was badass. What was he, like the $6 million man? Now he'd be the $6 billion man today. But that son of a bitch would have been able to pedal that human-powered helicopter like a madman.
Oh, it would have been 50 feet in the air. Then it would have crashed, and he would have been the $5 man because he would have shattered like glass when he hit the ground.
Yes, exactly. Oh, my God. Gosh, we're getting low on time. We have like 9 minutes left, so we have to do power adders. So we did a bang shift question of the day, and I don't even have it up. I forgot. And I'm not going to mess with my internet on our thing because we're doing good. So we had to deal people, what's your power adder of choice? Supercharger, supercharger, turbochargers, or nitrous. Obviously, with superchargers, you've got screw blowers, roots blowers, and centrifugals. And then turbos, twins, singles, big, little, whatever, or compound also. And then nitrous. And there were a bunch of people that said, there's nothing cooler than the feeling of the little blue button. And you know how much of a fan I am of the button. But it's weird because I am a huge fan of a nitrous. I love the fact that it's all that power under my finger. But on top of that is the fact that, I love turbo stuff. I love blower stuff. Anything power adder is great, and naturally aspirated is good. My personal philosophy is that the finest thing you can do is to put turbo or turbos on your engine and then spray the piss out of it because it makes things really happy. You don't have to spray it all the way down track, but you can use it to build boost in a street car. It's really, really trick, and I really, really, really like it. And we'll be doing some testing with both soon. But I thought it was interesting to see some people's opinions on the topic, and there was more discussion on the centrifugal versus screw blower than I thought there would be.
Yeah, I mean, you look at obviously all this different stuff works better and great in different applications, but I mean, as old school and archaic and medieval as a roots blower is on something, you look at a guy like Jim Forbes, that's a original gangster bang shift guy who drives his car thousands of miles a year, and that 55 Chevy he has been a blown big block Chevy forever, and it's great for what he's trying to do. And then, you know, you look at the power that you can make. Years ago, I wrote the feature in Hot Rod about that kid that had a Mustang with a 302, a couple of turbos from a John Deere bulldozer on it, and the thing was running like high 10. So, I mean, there's no wrong way to go, I don't think. But, I mean, everybody, you kind of get going one way and you want to stick that way. I love superchargers on top of a motor. It's, like I said, it's medieval and it's old school, but come on, what looks cooler than that?
You know what, and I got to agree with you. You know, I've been 234 miles an hour on the salt backwards with a centrifugal supercharger from Vortec stuffing its way through a 572 cubic inch GM crate motor. And I can tell you the thing makes big power. It does all those things, you know, for what combo we were doing. I would much rather have had a turbo on it because it would sound cooler, if for no other reason than that. But I'll say that, you know, the centrifugal worked good. When we put the car together with a very similar big block, but with a 1471 on the top of it from the blower shop, with one of those big thick stacked intercoolers, and the top of the scoop was as tall as the roof of the car, the engine made 250 horsepower more. The car went exactly the same speed because all that blower hanging out of the hood was the same drag, was 250 horsepower worth of drag. Well, that's all well and good, you know, I mean, but it didn't matter. The car never looked cooler in its entire life than it did with that giant blower sticking out of the hood, I'm telling you.
Well, that thing, when David came up to Loring and Keith and Tanya David ran the car, and I hung out with her for the weekend, with the I think it was a 572 or something in it, with the Vortec on it, my God, that thing sounded like the world was coming to an end when it was running. It was like the loudest big block Chevy I'd ever heard in my life. So, yeah, the centrifugals are pretty badass, too.
It was a badass setup and everything, but God, I'll tell you what's scary is that, you know, I know exactly what power that combo made, and in fact have the dyno sheets and everything for it. I have made more with a 4.8 liter LS motor and twin turbos.
Oh, sure. I mean, that's, you know, you look at what Holdner's done with those things, you know, it's crazy.
It is. And you know, we'll make on the 383 LS stroker motor that we're working on finishing, you know, that thing with a single 76 will make easily 1,000 horsepower. With the right 76 or maybe an 80, it will make somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 1,300. It's really unbelievable what kind of power you can make with them. But you could do the same thing with the big block Chevrolet, and quite honestly, if we ran a bigger, badder Vortec on that car, we could have made more power, and we could have made more power with more compression and all of those things too, but we were building a pooch motor that would go fast and live. I mean, the truth of the matter is, and this is no dig whatsoever, I mean, David would admit it, he and Turk have never shown up with a just double throwdown race motor. And that's all part of their plan. Again, not that David isn't capable of building that, but, you know, their plan is always, we need this thing to live all week long, and we need it to be reliable, and we know that the car is so good from an aero perspective that we don't need 1,300 horsepower, we only need 1,100 horsepower. So, you know.
Yeah, and now that we're kind of on the Bonneville state, in kind of going down that same direction, it's like, the you know, John Beck and those guys with the Roadster that ran 300 mile an hour with the nitro burn load heavy in it that had to run for 5 miles just flat out.
Yeah.
incredible. You know, again, it goes back to you talk about power adders. Well, let's start stacking stuff on top of one another. Let's take the nitro and really feed some air to it and up the amount of fuel we can burn. And you know, that's when stuff starts getting fun. Like you said, we start stacking this stuff, a supercharger with a little shot of nitrous on it, or a set of turbos with a little shot of nitrous help to spool up. Now we're really talking.
Oh, I agree, and it's funny because, you know, now today we look at the guys that do that as being insane. I mean, most people just do. And it just goes back to my whole thing of Pro Street isn't dead. I love the Pro Street cars from back in the day when Dauberton and all those guys had blowers with turbos feeding each other and, you know, all of this kind of stuff. It was crazy how many power adders some of these guys would have. And I know that most of them are fairgrounds cruisers and all that kind of stuff. They weren't like Larry Larson's, you know, legitimate 6-second car, but it certainly was badass back in the day. And again, it was all about eye candy, so it's proof that, well, look at, okay, Matt and Debbie Hayes took an Oldsmobile Calais, okay, a white one no less, with no graphics on it whatsoever, laid the thing all the way on the ground with as much tire as they could stick under it from Mickey Thompson, and ran a small block, I believe, was in that car, with a blower running on alcohol. And it took gallons per mile, not miles per gallon.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't until a few years later they added the, you know, nice 80s or 90s graphics down the side, and it was still just an Oldsmobile, you know. So a blower can fix almost everything. Ooh, maybe that's the answer for that stupid 77 Trans Am. If they had a big giant roots blower sticking out where the chicken's head was, it might fix it.
Only if the blower was filled full of thermite and there was a fuse we could light. that is the only fix for that.
Oh, you ain't kidding. All right, well, we are at 7 o'clock and Pacific time, 10 o'clock on the East Coast. For any of you that just tuned in and have missed any part of the show, don't worry. We have a rerun that will be available because we're going to stop our recording here in a moment. But we would be remiss without sending out our condolences and our thoughts and prayers to all the families of Newtown, Connecticut students, everybody in Newtown, Connecticut. You know, there's nothing good to be said about this whole deal other than the fact that that evil bastard isn't with us anymore. But I can't, you know, as a parent, and Brian is too, of 2 little kids, and we talked about it, the thought of your 6-year-old going through something like that is absolutely unfathomable and fathomable. And again, our thoughts and prayers go out to the families. To any of you guys that are watching that know anybody, you know, that's up there, give them a hug for us, because that's just a horrible deal. So, you know, I don't know what else to say on that one other than to get really pissy, and then that'll get ugly. So.
Yeah, you bet. That's been I got a 4 and a 6-year-old, and you know, I look at Tom every day. He gets on the bus, just think, Jesus, you know, it's one of those things. Everybody's doing, you know, everybody's kind of taking it their own way, but it's a sad deal. So.
Definitely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm Chad Reynolds, and that guy over there is Brian Loans, and we appreciate you tuning in to PowerShift this week. We will be back Thursday evening for part number 3 of PowerShift, where we have some other cool stuff that we're going to talk about, because don't forget, the end of the world is Friday at noon Pacific time, apparently.
Thursday.
Yes.
It's going to be over with. You got to tune in Thursday.
Oh, because we're going to say all the shit we're not allowed to say then, because who's going to tell us not to the next day, because we're going to be screwed. So it'll be great. Oh, and if you are in the market for a race pack, any data logging equipment, remember this week only, if you buy a $3,500 or more system from RacePack this week by Friday at noon, you will get your name put in a drawing, and if your name is drawn by me, yes, me, on Friday, then you get $1,500 off of your order. So your $3,500 system becomes a $2,000 system. So you gotta do this. I'm telling you, folks, go buy your race pack now. I will be live on Friday at Race Packs facilities in Santa Margarita down here, and I will be giving you the nickel tour live and then drawing the name out o' the hat to award somebody that $1,500 deal. Plus, I'm going to give away other stuff. They don't know it yet, but they're not going to be able to stop me. So make sure you watch, and you could win something.
Sweet.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the pleasure was all yours. Again, I'm Chad Reynolds, and that guy over there, damn, I do that every time. That guy over there is Brian Loans. We are out of here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.